All right. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. Thanks so much for being here today. We are recording this today, so if you have any colleagues that were wanting to catch it and missed it, you can find this later on our website and or the thank you email after. I'm just going to wait just a couple of minutes for everyone to get in and settled. And I know a lot of people work right up into the last moment. So in the meantime, let's start off with just a quick little icebreaker. And this is, of course, an effort to demonstrate. But here's the deal. So hopefully we'll get enough of us on here to start this off. But grab a piece of paper. Any piece of paper will do. Pen, marker, whatever. And when we get to the question, you're just going to write your answer down and put on your video camera and hold it up. And we'll see if we can get a virtual bingo going, okay? So I'm going to give you a second here to grab whatever you might need. And then, okay, the first question, what was the last thing you drank today? So the example here is, I'm going to hold up my sign so we can see it. If you use a virtual background like I do, it might get weird. So just keep that in mind. Kombucha, yum. Coffee, okay. Nope, there we go, I've disappeared. Banana chocolate smoothie, yum. Okay, one more second. We'll move on to the next. We almost had a cross. Okay. That's all right. We'll get into the next one. All right. So next question. What is your normal meeting platform for work? Zoom, Teams, WebEx? Teams? Zoom? Teams? Teams? Ooh, almost got there. Zoom? Do we have a bingo? I can't tell. Darn it. So close, you guys. So close. Well, the top row. We'll count that. Top row works. Okay, next question. How often do you have virtual meetings? Daily, weekly, multi-times a day? Daily, okay. Multi a day. Daily. Hourly. Yikes. Ugh. Okay. We're almost there. All right. Last question. If you're just joining us, we're just doing a quick little icebreaker to let everyone get in and get settled before we start this off here. If you could be any animal, what would you be? Hummingbird. That was my grandma's favorite animal. Rhino. Quokka? Is that how you say that?
Quokka.
Quokka. Thank you. Otter. Oh, they're so cute. Elephant. Yeah. Gorilla. Love it. All right. Well, not a bingo, but we got some good stuff going on there. All right. Thanks so much for humoring me on that. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So this is what we're doing today. We're scheduled for an hour. We will not be that long, but we are going to play quite a few games. So if you're wondering how everything works, we'll be doing that. The chat function, unfortunately, in my teams is not working. So you might have noticed it's probably even grayed out for you. So in that regard, I will invite you to do two things. I will have a Q&A session at the end. But if you can't stay till the very end, or if you have some pressing questions, use the raise your hand function, and I'll do my best to address those as we go. But for now, we are going to kind of dive into a conversation. So go ahead, unmute your mics, and I'd like to discuss, how has training been going for you? Some of you mentioned multi-times a day virtual meetings. How is that working out for you? What do you most want to improve? So I'm going to stop talking and you guys can jump in.
I don't want to speak over anyone, but I know virtual fatigue is real. Eye strain, voice, zoning out, and that's on my end, even when I'm presenting. I try to follow the 50-10 rule, and I tell my participants, please don't just sit there and check email. Get up and walk around, get yourself refocused, get a cup of coffee, something. I try to keep my voice steady, but also at times be silly to try to get them to interact. Expect interactions when possible, but sometimes that's not possible. So I just kind of regurgitated a bunch of information. Sorry, I took over.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure you're not alone.
Yeah, I'll ditto what she's saying. I think I definitely signed up for this. What I'd like to improve this year is more interactive, just even attitudes. I think starting the meeting off, I have everybody come on camera and do something with a piece of paper got my attention. Because I can even be tempted to multitask while I'm in a webinar. And it's like, okay, what's the point of being in a webinar if you can't even pay attention to what's going on? But it's just been so fatiguing and just so like, I've been staring at this screen now. What time is it? 12 since 8 o'clock. And so when yesterday and the day before, and it gets to the point where I have to force myself to eat lunch, so I don't want, if I'm feeling that way as a presenter, so I feel for you on the other side of the camera. I want to be aware of what's happening to my participants and just giving them something new. They're not expecting the same thing when they come on camera to be able to say, hey, turn your camera on, get a piece of paper and just getting them to do something out of the ordinary for them.
Great. Yeah, that's really good feedback. And so true, right? I think it's really good to put yourself in their seat. I think we can get away from that sometimes too. So yeah, that's great. Anybody else?
I'd like to add engagement. I think it's all kind of related. So just making sure that, because so many people are staring at screens and just hearing voices, just being able to get them to do something, some sort of interaction or engagement, frequently throughout the virtual session.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's a really good segue into what we're going to talk about today. Actually, that's a lot of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how to break things up with interactive things so that the virtual fatigue at least gets a little lessened. And, we'll talk about how that actually affects learning and retention and all those things too. So thank you so much for all of your feedback. That was great. We'll go ahead and keep going here. Like I said, if you want to raise a question, feel free to do the raise the hand emoticon, and I'll do my best to check that since the chat function will not be working. But again, we'll have a Q&A at the end as well. All right, so here are some terms to know. If you're just kind of getting into gamification, it can be a little daunting. So I always like to start here. And in the context of serious learning, we're talking about using gamification or playing games as an engagement tool or even a presentation tool for your training or your teaching or online learning. There are a lot of different ways in the ways we can use them. So in a classroom, in a webinar like today, or self-paced learning, or with mini modules, you can upload them in your LMS, for instance, and it can live there in perpetuity and become part of a learning module that you assign. So lots of different ways to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my video off here so we can keep going. All right, so to find a solution to a problem, I think we have to first identify and define that problem. So talking about virtual fatigue, what is it? You know, scientists do not always agree on what the exact mechanisms are that cause this. And if you are a scientist on today, please jump in at any point. But it's basically a feeling of exhaustion that often occurs, you know, after attending a series of virtual video meetings. And from our icebreaker, you are all very aware of what that is, and I'm sure have felt that. And this occurs because the way video meetings deplete the brain's store of glucose, which is the fuel our brains use for cognition. And it can also be due to like that continuous partial attention, which is a cognitive function. It's closely related to multitasking, but not the same thing. So when we're talking about that partial attention, there's this constant need to filter out impromptu information, right? Both online and offline, where things are coming at us we're unprepared for, but we have to have this super focus. So combined with our tendency to focus on our own appearance, that can result in information overload and cognitive fatigue. In addition, there's also that high intensity of close eye contact that you guys mentioned, as well as that unnatural size of faces on the screen, right? So a lot of times our faces are super big, but in real life, we're not that close. And if we are that close, our brains interpret it as an intense situation. So we're kind of in this hyper aroused state. So following that, the mirror effect, constantly seeing our own face, that can kind of be, you know, lead to us being critical of ourselves. Our own biofeedback, are we smiling? Are we making eye contact? You know, all of those things end up being kind of a negative experience, right? Not to mention probably a distracting one. So with video conferencing, of course, our mobility is also dramatically reduced. So we're just confined to these small areas. And that's just not natural in a normal human experience. And we always perform better when we can move around, right? Our bodies kind of need that. So when you mentioned taking those breaks, move around, get up, you know, don't just check your email. That's perfect. Encouraging people to get up, stretch, do some chair yoga, whatever it is awesome. Because that nonverbal communication that we pick up on when we're face to face is kind of absent, you know, so our brains are working extra hard to interpret what's going on, what people are saying, what they're not saying. So a lot of these factors contribute directly or indirectly to what we've labeled as virtual fatigue. So what's the solution, right? Well, break up your lectures. So when we're talking about adding more interactivity, this is a good way to do it. And we're talking about games today. So games can be used for all kinds of learning environments. And they can also boost that engagement during your training sessions instead of just at the end. So instead of using games at the end for a review tool, which is great, not trying to knock that, think about this just-in-time learning as an approach to individual training or organizational training that promotes that need-related lessons so they're available when and how it's needed by the learner. So this is the theory behind microlearning. And it works because the cognitive load is reduced and it makes it easier to process information and limit that glucose depletion. And our brains just operate best when we're fed small amounts of information over time. So if we interpret a lecture or video meeting with something interactive, we've captured that engagement and some energy. So some games can be played in 5 minutes or less for that incremental instruction. And repetition, of course, is key. You all know that as learning development professionals, I'm sure. The more we repeat information, the more likely it is to wind up in that long-term memory. Plus, you know, we have the bonus of reducing some costs and materials if you're doing it virtually, as well as the benefits of that on-the-go update. So we're going to play a game here in just a second, but I do want to discuss some of the things we can do constructively and then some things to avoid, right? So the do's, do use icebreakers like the one that we started with today, or create your own. There are lots and lots of resources available online, free tools for a lot of those. But a lot like networking, it allows your audience to break whatever preoccupation they are arriving with. And they get energized and a little bit more focused with what you're doing now. So we all arrive with preoccupations, totally normal, depending on, you know, working from home, for instance. I have 4 school-age boys and 2 dogs and 2 cats, and at any given moment, there could be all kinds of distractions, and that's normal. So that's the human thing. But if, you know, if we can get people a little more engaged, energized, we have a better chance at maybe keeping them focused. And moving your work setup can really help as well. So where, you know, your video camera is in relation to your person, or how far away your keyboard is. And if it's available to you, try to switch that up. Maybe move your camera a little bit further away so you don't feel like your face is taking up the whole screen, or that kind of thing. And an important one, schedule fun breaks. You mentioned the 50-10 rule, and that's perfect, right? Bio break at least every hour at the top. An interactive break every 15 to 20 minutes would be stretching it. I think virtually it's even less. So instead of saving your review activities for the very end, or whatever activities you have scheduled, do them throughout the entire session or day. Use music when appropriate, during breaks, during activities. And I will mention here that accessibility is also something to consider with music, using closed captions, alternative texts, etc. And PowerPoint does offer a feature for this specifically. I'm sure you've all checked that out, but it's super helpful. And be strategic with your virtual meetings, because we all know not everything needs to be a meeting, right? So poll your team, maybe send them a survey, ask them what they consider, you know, meeting-worthy agendas. And of course, you can use games to engage people, energize them, and educate them. So we are going to do that right now. This is a template we called Catapult. We will be playing in teams. This is a screen that you see as a facilitator, by the way. So here's our catapult. I'm going to mute this, but there's some dramatic music playing in the background. That's fun. And you can join one of 2 ways. You can copy and paste the link on the bottom of your screen into any browser. And then when it asks for a 4-digit code, it's at 0016. Or you can just take your phone out and point your camera right at that QR code and scan it. And it should bring you in. It'll ask for your name, and then it will assign you into a team. So this is an example of using a game. We're basically going to revisit the few slides we just went over, right? So we're introducing something interactive pretty early into the session, so allowing for some engagement, right? A couple more seconds. If the QR code goes away and you still want to join, you can join via the link on the bottom at any time. So good to know that way.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I can't see the entire code, QR code, because there's a tab or something, or toolbar at covering up some of it.
Oh, okay.
And
Thank
also
you.
covering the link as well.
Let me put it in the, you won't be able to access the chat. So the link is https://bravozone.us. And I wonder if I can, does that help at all? Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So here's Catapult. The object of this game is to destroy each other's, or the opposing team's castle. Okay, true or false, virtual fatigue can be fixed with more meetings.
Well, let me click the answer.
Are you on a phone or a computer?
On my phone.
Okay. Yeah, so it should allow you to use your phone as an answering keypad.
There it is. I got it. Thanks.
Perfect. All right. So thank you. Yes, this is false. And this is a good opening question. So depending on the type of device that you're using, it might ask you to submit on the bottom of your phone screen. But now the red team gets to choose their attack. So you are going to vote, basically, on which weapon you would like to use. And you get to see, you know, how this is breaking down per choice of weapon. The fireball is usually a fan favorite. All right, perfect. And I'm just watching this bar over here to make sure we've all had a chance to use that. And the potion it is, and the blue team just turned into an ogre. Okay. So we only have a few questions. Again, this is kind of a micro-learning session, a way to interrupt, you know, the lecture. What is gamification as it was defined? I hope this isn't a trick question. Okay. We got people changing their minds. All right. That's okay. It is actually D. So that was the definition on the screen technically, but you're not wrong to say it's an engagement tool. So well done. Team Blue, choose your attack. Okay, we got most of the people choosing the fireball. We're gonna keep going. Fireball it is. All right. Team Red took a little fire there. Okay, so CPA, or continuous partial attention, is an unconscious thought process that happens automatically. True or false? Dan, do you have a question?
I did. I didn't get the option to choose the weapon.
Oh, bummer. Okay, hopefully
Yeah.
next round. If you're on the team that wins the question, you should get the option. It should show up for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, well.
true. Well done. Team Red, choose your attack. And if it times out on your screen, like on a phone especially, you can refresh your little browser. It should bring you right back to where we are. Okay. Fireball again, it looks like. Very nice. There are some audio things that happen with this. I have them muted for today, of course. So this is the final question, I believe, but this is an example. You can even add YouTube videos, to your sessions if you'd like. There's a lot of media options. So which answer does not apply to overcoming the challenge of virtual fatigue? All right. Ooh, you guys are so good. Well done. So this is the final scene. Again, there's a bunch of audio happening. The dragon, Team Red, is the winner. Very good job. Very close, too. 800 points for the red, 750 for blue. Okay, so Team Red wins. Here's a couple of nice things. You have some feedback right away, so I can maybe pause and say, hey, Melissa, awesome job. Dan, good job, even though you didn't get to choose the weapon. Questions here are the most challenging questions of the session we just went over. So this might give you some informed, context of where you might want to go next for the session, for that day, etc. But that's Catapult. So again, that was just a quick, took a few minutes probably to get in and those things, but it does break up those lectures, gives people, a way to interact. All right, so let's talk about live sessions. We can use games for a revisitor, just like we did just now, and that's kind of different in from review in that we're just doing it as a micro-learning approach and just revisiting a small amount of information at a time, usually over like a spaced interval, which can really boost attention. So this can be super short, kind of like what we just did, only last a few minutes. A little bit goes a long way here. Or maybe you have everyone play a game as an icebreaker or as a pre-assessment or a knowledge check-in. And this can even apply with situational learning, with the variety of ways to tell, show, and do through games. So games can be used for any kind of team building scenario, of course, and they will still be learning along the way there. And performance management is kind of that outcome of the learning that's happening through games with the help of the analytics, the reporting functions, ways to show, the return on your investment in time and resources. And we've probably become a lot more familiar with self-paced learning, or it's often referred to as mobile learning or e-learning over the last couple of years, with that quick shift to virtual learning. So even though self-paced learning is typically done solo or like single player on your own time, or it's often assigned to people, it can still be interactive and it can still be engaging. So for instance, our clients have found a lot of success in that hybrid learning environment where you combine live training sessions with some self-paced learning. So maybe pre and post sessions, and you use games for all of it. So that might be like sending out the material as homework to your participants before a session with a self-paced quiz maybe, or a game as a knowledge check-in, and then using the results of that to actually inform your live session. Or you can host your quiz or game in your very own LMS and integrate that into a learning module, and you can assign that, and they can easily access that for an interactive element. Or send out a quiz as a post-session wrap-up, or like a competency check-in. What do you remember 2 days later? And you can also offer more resources for them to continue that learning. So this is something that we offer called Spark, and I'm going to click here. Notice I've embedded my links into my PowerPoint and kind of launched them from there, so it's an easy transition. Whoops, let me go back to the... Okay, so this was a sample game quiz that we put out right around New Year's. We like to put out some sample games for people to play, use, whatever. So this one, you won't be able to get into it because it's designed to be something that you send out to people and they access on their own time. But please do We're going to do this old school style where you can shout out answers, and we will continue that way. We won't be able to play the whole quiz here, but I just want to give you an idea of what this can look like. So starting out, which iconic public spaces or space features a famous ball drop at midnight on New Year's Eve?
Times Square.
There we go. And then here's a summary screen talking about that specific thing. Here's a link if people wanted to click on that and follow it. Watch this quick YouTube video. 12,000 pounds, yikes. Okay, this band made, I don't know.
Glenn Miller?
Glenn Miller? Okay, thank you for saving me from that because I have no idea how to pronounce that sound. Oh, Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians. Of course, it's Canadian. Okay.
Of course.
It's actually an old Scottish tune. All right. So here's telling us why that's correct. We're putting some context around that. In which country do they see? I should not have picked this game. I don't know how to pronounce any of this. Do they eat kransekog? A wreath cake comprised of concentric rings of cake layered on top of each other.
Germany.
Come on, get off.
Are we saying Germany? Final answer?
Yeah. Final
Okay.
answer.
Denmark.
Mm.
Served at a wedding. So we'll just do a couple more questions, but this is a great example of how you can make this content highly customizable, send it out to participants as a newsletter, even as a way to keep people engaged on the same page, all of that good stuff. So what happened shortly before midnight on New Year's Eve in Japan?
Gosh, I don't know. I feel like I choked with Glenn Miller. Now I don't want to say the wrong thing.
It's okay. There's no points happening.
C. They like candles.
Okay, I think that's a good guess. See, I probably should have gone through this. So yeah, here's our little YouTube video. If you want to see stuff, you can play it. All right, one more question. In Wales, people open their blank at midnight on New Year's.
Let's say D.
D for Windows?
What do you guys think?
Go for it.
Okay. Doors.
Failure.
Darn it all to heck. All right. Well, this is Spark. And it's a great tool for, like I was saying, pre or post session. People play it on their own time, but you can still have a leaderboard going where people are going to get competitive. You can assign it as part of a learning module, all kinds of fun stuff here. Any questions on that so far? We're good? Okay. So one area that can be a challenge for sure is the real-time feedback in virtual meeting environments or even live sessions for that matter. So we're going to look at another tool we offer called Tally at the end of this, and this really helps address this. But you can also identify knowledge gaps, remediate in real time, kind of like when we're playing a game and you saw some of the percentages coming in live and there's, some discrepancy there of the correct answer. That's a lot of good, valuable information for you as an instructor. And then you also get a lot of different reporting that's offered with analytics as well. And that, helps you kind of get feedback for those more teachable moments, creating more of those. So the question is, okay, great. So how do we apply this? And there's a variety of ways to do it, of everything that we've already talked about, but integrating games into your learning and development is great for soft skill development, professional development, or your general compliance. Making something that's super dry into a game is always a winner. Or review that content based on its ability to be participant-centered. That's kind of key there. It can also be situational, scaled with scenario training even. So because the training is designed to be short and sweet, it can be easily accessed with devices. Like today, you're playing on your phone or maybe your tablet. So it keeps people mobile. So, if they're at a coffee shop, they can still join in. And this allows your focus to be on performance gains and making that quality content while using games to deliver it to a safe learning environment. And by turning content into fun, engaging, and interactive sessions, you can pull all learning styles into the learning, even while talking about those dry and dense concepts. So games are kind of a great playing field, excuse the pun, for advancing your company culture as well. All ages love them. So we'll now get into Tally, which is the final template that we'll look at. This is our kind of signature live presentation tool. So I'm going to show you how you can maybe repurpose your PowerPoint slides right into this tool, use some interactive features to review and or present material. So this one you can get into. We have 2 teams for you to join here. Same as the catapult game. This is just my intro screen. All of this is customizable, by the way. I have not done that, but your logo goes here, your title goes here, your welcome video goes here, etc. All right, so if you would, join one more time for the final game, final review. Scan the QR code or join. Let me do full screen here. Hope that helps with seeing the bottom. bravozone.us, 4-digit code 0016. My participants, see if anybody has questions. Nope, looks like we're good. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So here we go. If you would, click on the map from where you find yourself today. And like it says in the bottom, this is an example of an icebreaker that you might use in the game. And an image mapping question just like this is great for that situational learning. I'll explain more in just a second. But you're basically just creating it's called a hot zone around what portion of the map, or if it was a portion of something, you're creating the correct answer and they're using an image to answer. So visual learners, great for that. Nice. Texas, East Coast, love it. And I am all the way up here in Minnesota, freezing today at, 20 below or something? It's crazy. Okay, so there we go. There's an example of using an image mapping question as an icebreaker. And then we have a host of tutorial videos in YouTube and on our website. If you ever have questions or, need to figure something out and you just want to access something quickly, it is there for you. Okay, so where we were. We had this slide in our PowerPoint in the very beginning talking about our agenda today. So you can easily access any of these PowerPoint slides, export them right into here. So maybe you repurpose part or all of a deck to include interactive elements. And here's an example. It's a screenshot of our builder. You'll notice you have a bunch of options here for your content. So the image map was, the question before this. But if I wanted to import a PowerPoint slide, I can just stick it right in here, make it part of the presentation. So we're going to do our poll again that we started in the beginning. What do you most want to improve in your training this year? And I can see things coming in live, which is kind of nice. You can see things coming in live. Lots of engagement responses. All right, we'll keep going. Here's our little graph showing how this broke down. If you're into graphs, that's kind of fun. And this might be something that if you were in a serious learning environment or using this for that context, you might pause and talk about this. Tell me why you answered A, you know? So it can be a presentation tool as well as a learning tool. And then, you know, did your answer change or stay the same? For a little thinker question. Okay, so remember this slide, we talked about all these things, possible solutions, the just-in-time learning, what that is. True or false, just-in-time learning helps reduce the cognitive load and boost retention. Media options here too, you can add GIFs or memes or videos or your own stock images, all kinds of stuff. I just liked that GIF because for school-age boys, that just feels very appropriate. Okay, where are we at? Yes, that is true. Thank you for answering that. Just-in-time learning does help reduce the cognitive load, and by that, helps boost retention. And then, you know, how it works, you put in your own content, you access some of the analytics, your participants use their own devices from wherever they are, right? Reaching them wherever your learners are. That was also a slide called a summary slide where you can reinforce the question. All right, this is a bonus question because it's worth double the points. What is the average adult attention span? I mentioned it very, very briefly. There is a timer also going on this question, which is an optional thing, which is making those points decrease as we continue. So a lot of different settings, a lot of different technical options you can use as well. Okay. So, ooh, this is a good breakdown. Let's see which is correct. Well done to whoever said C. Very good job. Yeah, 90 seconds. That attention thing, our attention span is decreasing for sure. What are other ways to apply gamification? Select all that you think apply. If you're on your phone, this one you probably have to hit submit on the bottom. And as the facilitator, I'm watching this blue bar. If I hover on it, oh, my timer is going to let you know that it's almost done. Okay, so when it's a timer, it'll time out, and all of the above, of course. Good job. So we're doing some polling questions, we're doing some review questions, but the idea here is to keep people participant-centered, keep them active in their own role of learning. So this tool is great for that. Games in general. There are a lot of other tools. This isn't really a sales thing either. There are a lot of tools that allow you to do this. to be completely honest. But the idea is keep it interactive, keep people part of the show, keep them participating in it. Okay, I got some not very's, I got an okay, I got some pretty goods. None of you said I got this. That's okay. All right, pretty good. I will take pretty good. And then this is a review of why can you use games to help reduce that virtual fatigue. It's fun with a purpose. It helps connect dots for people all over, all ages. They are easy to build. They are easy to deploy. Kind of throughout the PowerPoint, we're launching them right from there. The formats, people are used to, you know, doing things on their phone nowadays, especially millennials who have grown up with this, right? They're doing everything on their phones. So it's accessible and portable. And yep, all learning styles in all ages, which we talked about. So Orange Dream Team is in the lead. All right, so here's an open-ended question. And it's an option for you to submit a question if you would like, and then we can talk about them. So you're actually going to enter your question right into the field that should be coming up for you on the bottom there. And then hit submit, and we will see the questions come up. Or you can submit a comment if you don't have a question. What happens is a little chat bubble comes up, and we'll be able to see people's, you know, contribution here live. Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. That's a good example of what it looks like. Okay, we will keep going. That is an example, though, of an open-ended question. Thank you. Thanks, Danita. Yeah, there's a lot of different applications, and I think the idea here is to think outside the box, right? Not just as a review tool. How are the other ways? What are the other ways that we can use this? So awesome. Yeah, open-ended question. Start a dialogue here. People can submit it. So when you're remote, people are virtual, you still get an opportunity to see people's feedback or answer questions, etc. All right, so here's my contact information, QR code for our website. If you'd like any more information, if you have a session coming up that you want to, you know, do a trial run on something, we're happy to help out with that. You can email me here, give us a call, go on our website. And I will return to that too. So here's our closing screen. Hope you enjoyed this free webinar. We can look at the teams. Team Orange Dream wins. Good job. 3 questions. You guys did awesome. Ava, awesome job. If you want to, you know, award your top 5, maybe you have a prize, maybe you don't, whatever it is. The prize is playing the game, right? Here's our most challenging questions. So we get some good feedback right away from that session again. So yeah, it was a little bit of review, it was a little bit of polling, it was a little bit of survey, interactive elements baked into it. So at this point, we are pretty much done. If you have questions, I will certainly hang out for a little bit to answer those. Otherwise, thanks so much for joining us. I hope this gives you some ideas, and at the very least, what virtual fatigue is, how to better avoid it. You know, I turned my video cam off, for instance, for that reason. So it's not so distracting. I'm not trying to watch all of those things. So yeah, thanks so much for being here today. I'll hang out and answer any questions if you have them.